Thank you so much for joining in for the live workshop, Build a Production Ready Pipeline in 10 minutes. We'll try to keep this one very short as promised. It's just going to be like building a pipeline in 10 minutes. Just before that, we would want to definitely give you guys a little bit of background, why you should have data. What are the operational challenges? What Hevo stands for, and why Hevo's pipelines is something that you would be able to build in 10 minutes. Before that, I would like to thank Skan joining us. He's from the sales engineering team here at Hevo, our expert in Hevo data pipelines. So he would be the one who's going to be walking us through all through from the content and the demo. Thanks, Karan, for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure. Hi, everyone.
Moving on, we'll talk about operational challenges. We'll talk about what a working pipeline means and what a production ready pipeline means, and how you can build production ready pipelines with Hevo, then a live demo, and if time allows, we'll go through a case study together just to see how companies have already started using, how companies have been using Hevo for a really long time, right? And then towards the end, we can take some Q&A. Moving on, I think the first question for you, Skand, is what are the operational challenges that, typically slow down the data teams?
Yeah, so I've heard this a lot from my friends and colleagues and the organizations that we have been working with who are trying to build the data pipelines in-house. There are different types of operational challenges that they generally face in their day-to-day life, starting from pipeline breakages. So whenever they are handling the pipelines in-house, there are frequent pipeline breaks that affect their business downstream processes because and the reason could be a small schema change, maybe just a simple column that they added in one of the tables, or just some API change that a particular resource would have had in the API, like maybe a new version or a new object or field that would have been added in the API. And they need to handle all the processes that are built up on top of that, right? So that leads to pipeline breakages. Now, in terms of observability and visibility, when these breakages happen, right, they lead to the failure of these pipelines. And in those cases, the data teams are not even aware about those issues until the downstream businesses get impacted, and maybe the teams that are dependent on the data, the downstream data, or the customers in some scenarios, they report those issues, and then they have to investigate and they get to know about these issues, right? Generating from that, they have to restart the whole process of having that data all over the pipeline again, uh, fix those issues, add those schema changes. So that brings to the reliability point, because then if you want to avoid all of this, you will have to keep a constant watch on those pipelines, right? So these are the challenges that we generally came across during different talks with with the organizations and customers that we work with.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think these problem statements do resonate with the folks I've also talked to, and I hope our attendees also do have a similar sort of problem statement. What do you think is the difference between like a versus a production
Yeah. So
ready
I
pipeline?
think I think we can categorize it based on the few features as you have mentioned, right? Now the major difference between a working pipeline versus a production ready pipeline, it's just that as it says, the working pipeline would be just working, and it does not it is not that much reliable, right? Because it is just working until it keeps working. If it fails, then you have to maintain all of these changes and fix those issues, right? However, in case you are expecting a production ready pipeline, you would expect it to perform without any intervention required from your end. If it encounters any failure, it should auto recover from that failure, right? And require as less intervention as possible from the actual data team, so that they can utilize their bandwidth on the actual requirements. Again, in terms of observability, a production ready pipeline, you will expect all the observability aspects, right? because at any point of time you would need to have those insights, or let's say even in case of any errors that happen and the pipeline auto recovered, you will need to have visibility into all of that. So like what actually happened, how it auto recovered, what could be done to prevent those errors in future, right? However, in terms of working pipeline, you will not find those logs, or you will have limited visibility into the issues even if they occur at some point. Now, a major part of this would be the scaling. So when you say it's a working pipeline, down the line when your business grows, you will have to have infrastructure spends and again efforts to scale that pipeline as per the business grows. However, a production ready pipeline, you would expect it to grow as your business grows, right? You do not need to add an additional resource or your team's bandwidth to maintain the growth of those pipelines as your business scales. So those are the differences between just a working pipeline and a production ready pipeline, which is ready to use without any issues.
Awesome. And naturally, my next question would be something along the lines, how do you think folks can get like a production ready pipeline with Hevo? And what's that something that
Yeah.
always stands out for us, how we have built the pipeline architecture?
Yeah. So now, when we say production ready pipelines, that where Hevo would come in, because first of all, it would be effortless to use. You can simply set up a pipeline without writing any code. It's just a simple UI interface. You just have a few clicks here and there, and you have a production ready pipeline up and running. Now, it's fully managed. Once you set up the pipeline, you just forget about it. It will keep running without any issues. And in terms of observability and visibility, once you create the pipeline, you can have that in the same interface, all the visibility into the pipelines, the pipeline runs. So you have all of those factors when you create the pipeline with Hevo. Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Moving on to the next.
Yeah. Apart from that, being effortless to use, the pipelines that you create with Hevo are reliable. So let's say even if there are any issues with the pipeline, we have auto healing processes that automatically retries the pipeline runs and tries to recover from those failures. In terms of schema handling, as we discussed previously, was one of the major factors that affected the data teams. We do have automatic schema handling, so you do not need to worry about that. Let's say in case your schema change or you add a new field or maybe a new table in the source database, right? We automatically handle that by adding those into the pipeline and keeping the pipeline ready and the data destination data up and running, right? Now, in terms of scaling, you do not need to worry about that as well. It's automatically scalable. As your database will grow, we will scale our resources automatically, and there will be no issues or interventions required from your end to sort of maintain the pipelines as your business grows in future.
Makes sense. And the last bit, on transparent and predictable pricing, how does that play?
Yeah. So one of the major factors would be the pricing part, of course, for any of the organization, right? So the pricing model that we have at Hevo is very transparent. We only charge you based on the number of records that you actually insert, update, or delete. So you have that transparency in terms of what you are actually paying for. Now, apart from that, we have alerts as well. So let's say in case you want to have alerts about your pipelines, anything, even from job completion to any error handling, you can set up those alerts and they will be delivered to you near real time so that you are aware of what's going on in the back end with your pipelines without keeping a constant watch actually on the pipeline, right? So that's about the transparency and predictable pricing that we offer.
Awesome. So basically summarizing, there are three pillars to how we see as like a production ready pipeline would look like. One would be like how reliable it is. Second would be how transparent it is in pricing and also in what's happening in the pipeline. And the third one would be how simple it is to use, how easy it is to build a pipeline in 10 minutes. And that's what we are going to see the next thing as. So I think this is the time for our demo. So Skan, you can
Sure.
take it over and share your screen for the
Sure.
demo as
Thank you.
well.
Let me quickly show my screen.
Meanwhile, guys, we are sending a couple of polls along your way, which gives us a better understanding of how how we can tailor our content. So please do participate in those as well.
Cool. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yep.
Now, yeah, for this demo, we will be seeing the process of creating a pipeline from MySQL to a Snowflake warehouse. Now, I'll just go on create pipeline here and we'll see it's a few simple step process. Now I can search for my source that I want to connect. In this case, it's RDS MySQL. So I'll just quickly search for it. Now it will ask me to select the destination that I want to connect to. In this case, I'll be using the Snowflake warehouse. So I'll just select that. Then we have different modes that we offer to connect to the database and ingest the data. Binlog is the recommended one because it utilizes the database logs itself in case of MySQL. The binary logs that the MySQL database creates, we rely on that to ingest all the changes that are happening across all the tables. Now, in case you do not have access to bin logs, we also have other options available. So you can go with the table mode where you will be relying on any primary key or a timestamp column, or you have the option to write your custom SQL queries as well. So let's continue with the bin log approach for now, which is the recommended and most efficient one. Now at this point, the first step would be to configure my source. Now I can give my source a name. So let me just use demo days. Now I will need to provide some basic credentials for my database that I need to connect to. So I'll just copy and paste those here. Just a second. Let me just quickly copy my host and then the database user. Let me just type my password. Now, here I have given my credentials. We also have some advanced options depending on the source that you are configuring. So in case you want to use SSH and directly do not want to connect to the database, you can enable the SSH toggle and you can provide SSH server details to act as an intermediary server. Also, in case you want to add an additional layer of security, you can enable the SSL encryption as well while connecting to the database. So right now I've just provided my credentials. Let me just hit test and continue here. Now it will check if the pipeline is able to connect to my database. It will just take a few seconds and proceed to the next step. At this point, I can use an existing destination that I have created or maybe create a new one. So if I click on add destination and let's say I have already selected Snowflake for now, it will give me the credentials part for Snowflake. So I'll just need to similarly provide my Snowflake account credentials and database details that I need to connect to. Right now, I have already created a destination. So let me just use the existing one. Now we can see that it already populated the credentials that I provided for the existing destination. Now, if I hit test and continue here, it will again perform the checks and permissions that I need to have on my Snowflake account. So it will just take a few seconds and proceed to the next step. Now here it is successful. Now I need to configure my pipeline settings at this point. So I can give my pipeline a unique name. Let's say demo days. Then I need to provide a schema prefix for my destination. So let's again say demo days, and then it will create a schema starting with the demo days prefix. Then we have the option to actually choose the load mode. So we offer both in case you want to have uh, you have the merge behavior. So in that case, any existing records will be updated against the primary keys that are present for the particular table. You can choose to use the merge mode, or let's say in case you want to maintain a history of all the changes that are happening to your data, you can use the append mode. In that case, we will add the new updates to the source as a new record or entry in the destination table. So you will have all the versions of your record or primary key. Then we have the failure handling policy. So we have two options. Let's say in case you do not want to load any of the data in case of any failure, you have that option. Otherwise, let's say if you have some fault tolerance to allow, you can have the option to allow to load the data, let's say up to a 10K failed events. Then you can choose the schema evolution policy. This defines how you want to handle the new or any changes to the schema that are being done on the source end. So we have different options available there. First of all, you can allow all changes. So in that case, any changes to the existing schema of the table or any new table getting added to the source database will automatically be added into the pipeline. Then you have the option to block all the changes. Let's say you do not want to automatically handle any changes to the source, right? You just want to define whatever you are ingesting at this point. You can allow, you can block all the changes. And then you have the option to allow only column level changes, but not the to the new schemas or tables that will get created in future. So in and you can choose to have that option as well, which will allow you to only keep the tables that you select now and only allow changes in those tables. Then you can choose to replicate all the data that is currently present on the database and the future data incremental. So how we categorize data is historical and incremental. Historical data is any data that is present at the point of piping creation in your source. So you can choose to migrate all of that data into the destination. And by the way, we do not charge for the historical sync. So that is completely free of cost, be it 10 records or be it 10 million records, right? Let's say in case you only want to have newer data, you do not want to migrate the existing data, you can choose to do so as well. Then you can define the frequency of the pipeline. So how frequently do you want to run this pipeline, right? So in terms of hours, or let's say every n minutes, you can define that. Let me just set it to every 6 hours for now, for an example, right? And then we can also define latency alerts. So in case there is a latency in the pipeline, you can automatically define that. You can define to receive an alerts based on that as well. Right. So let me just save the configuration for my pipeline right now, and it will proceed to the next step. Right now, it's fetching all the tables from my source database, and we can see the list of all the tables that are currently present in my database. Now, I can simply select all of these to be replicated, or I can choose specific tables if I want to replicate only selective ones. I also have the option to define the mapping right now. So let's say in case I want to skip some fields, there are some address fields, for example, in this table, and I do not want to migrate those over. So I'll just skip them, right? I can apply the changes. And similarly, I can play around with all of my tables and define what actually I want to migrate to the destination. And once I have made that configuration, I can just save and continue to the next step. At this point, it will just give me a summary of all the configuration that I have done until now, and it will allow me to save the pipeline. So let's go there. And that's it. The pipeline is initializing. It will just take a few seconds and it will kick off. And yeah, right now I have already created a similar pipeline to show you the other features. So let me just go to that existing one. So this is another pipeline that I created, and we can see it has already ran a few times. Now, coming to some of the features in terms of observability. This, first of all, you will see the job history tab in any of the pipeline that is running. So this will basically define all the pipeline runs as per the defined frequency. So we can see that initially it ran this job, it ingested a few events, and we can see the count of the loaded events as well. We can see if the time that it took, and we can see the status of the jobs. Now, if I click on any of the jobs here, I can get into much more detail. So here I can see all the individual tables that were ingested during that particular job or pipeline run. We can see the time it started, the time it took, the particular number of events which were ingested and loaded for each table. And then I also have the option to have the logs for this particular run. So let's say in case there is any error during particular run, I can download the logs for this particular run of the pipeline and I can dig into that. So in terms of visibility and observability, we got you all covered. Now, coming to the setup of the pipeline, next option is to have all the configuration here. So we can see the source configuration, the destination configuration, and the pipeline configuration that we just did while setting up the pipeline. And we can edit any of these as required, maybe in the future. Then we have the objects, or basically the tables in this case that we are syncing. So we can see that right now we are syncing only 3 tables and the rest of them are skipped. And then again, we have the option to see the fields that are being synced for the particular object as well. Then we have activity logs. So this basically keep tracks of any activities that are being done in the pipeline by any user in the account, right? So you have the track of any changes that are being done to the pipeline as well. Now, coming to the alerts part, let me just quickly go to the alerts. First of all, so I have different pipelines here that I can subscribe to for receiving the alerts. And let me just quickly go to the alert preferences. Now we have different categories of alerts. So let's say job completion, job failures, right? In case of lags, we already saw that we could set an alert during the pipeline setup itself. So it will it will notify you in case there are any latencies in the pipeline. So you do not need to worry about that, and the business downstream processes will not be impacted. So those are some of the alerting features that we offer with the production ready pipelines as well. Yeah, I think that's it from my end in terms of setting up the pipeline and a quick glimpse of all the features that we offer for the pipelines. Right. Let me just quickly stop sharing. Yeah.
Thanks, and I literally timed it. It was 10 minutes. So we stood on to our point. Cool.
Great. Yeah.
We just have a little bit more to go. We just want to talk about how these pipelines are in place for other companies so that if that's a use case for you, you are also able to resonate what exactly means to do it for yourself. So, Skand, how about you walk us through the case
Yeah.
study and we can take the questions after that.
Sure. So basically, this is an existing customer. I would not name the customer right now, but yeah, it's a software company that we help build the pipelines to support their enterprise growth back during the time. And then coming to such challenges that they were facing, right? So when they reached out to us, we had that conversation regarding their pain points and the frequent issues that they used to face while handling their processes, right? And again, in terms of pipeline breakages, they complained a lot about how their in-house processes used to break while handling all of the new changes to the API or to the source tables, which down the line required engineering efforts from their team. Like they required specific bandwidth to be allocated. That again impacted the other processes within the teams, because again, definitely you do not want your engineering effort to be wasted in maintaining those pipelines, right? And then since they were maintaining in-house, if they wanted to have any new source onboarded, right? Let's say they chose any new application that they want to have, they had to write that pipeline completely from scratch for that particular source, one source by one, right? That's a huge pain, right? And requires too much effort from the engineering teams, apart from, like, instead of focusing on the actual data and reporting applications, right? Building those reports. So those were a few challenges that we heard from them. Now, coming to how we solved them, and like how we were able to apply into their stack, is they had different applications which we offered out of the box, so they could directly connect to those applications, right? And then they were able to transfer the data, and they actually, their engineering teams were able to focus on the reporting part instead of having to maintain those pipelines. So they used Hevo to automate those process and actually focus on the downstream business processes. Now, in terms of outcomes that they were able to achieve, first of all, they were able to save their engineering hours by a huge amount. So at least 30 to 40 engineering team hours were saved every month when they started utilize Hevo. They at least integrated around more than 40 to 45 sources with Hevo without any issues, just out of the box support for connecting to those. And then they had reliable pipelines up and running. And then we also have an awesome support team that are ready to help you with any of your concerns or questions while you are having those pipelines. So you have a responsive support as well while you are onboarding with Hevo. So those are a few outcomes that they were able to achieve when they onboarded with us. Now,
Awesome, great.
yeah, sorry, yeah,
Coming to the next steps,
yeah. So
what is something our teams can do to reach out, or maybe
that
what would be the next step?
Sure. So, first of all, we offer a 14-day free trial. So you can directly visit our website, start a trial with your account, and start to see how you can utilize Hevo for your data and ETL stack needs, right? In case you want to have a conversation with us and see the product live in action for your personalized use case, you can definitely book a demo with us. And then, yeah, either me or some sales engineer will be able to converse with you and better understand your use case and see how we can help you to automate your data needs, right? Yeah, and in terms of this particular demo, recording and resources will be shared with everyone after the call. Yeah, coming to questions. Any questions for any of us?
I don't see any questions coming up. That's all right. We will share the recording of this webinar. We'll also make sure that we share some resources with all the attendees. And thank you so much for joining in. And thanks, Kant, for walking us through the demo as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.